This is a sale of for most of us, our biggest asset, and we don't do it very often, maybe a few times in our lifetime. And so I think having an independent seller's advocate to help you through that journey, to give you advice, they're aligned purely with you to make sure they get the best result for you. So I would recommend it to anyone of all levels of experience and stuff, that I think there's so much value in doing this, and I would do it every other time and recommend it to friends and family.
Andrew and Lara have just sold their Largs Bay home by utilising an incredibly beneficial real estate service called Seller's Advocacy. Even though it's been around for decades, there's a fair chance that you've never heard of it. In the last few years, Seller's Advocacy has become Australia's fastest growing property sector service for very good reasons. So, if you like to be real estate savvy, this video is a must watch. If you're actually about to sell, then it's absolutely vital you see it before signing an agency agreement.
The first thing, Andrew, is tell us a little bit about your real estate experience and what triggered you to sort of investigate this service further. I know you've sold a lot of property in your time.
Yes, I suppose over the last 20 odd years between New Zealand and Australia, I've probably bought and sold about 15 odd properties, a lot of investment properties, but our own homes as well. And then, of course, I've heard of seller advocates, but didn't know a lot about them. And then, obviously, when we decided to sell our home, I came across your services, and it made a lot of sense to me to get you involved after discussing, with you about your service and what you offered. And it made complete sense. Even with all my experience, I still saw a lot of value in your guidance through this process to make sure that I found the best agent, or we found the best agent, and their interests are aligned with ours to get the best result for selling our home.
It should be noted that Andrew is an accomplished professional in the finance and banking sector. Remarkably, while most of us sell less than 5 properties in a lifetime, Andrew has bought and sold some 15 properties over the last 20 years. For his age, Andrew must be amongst the most experienced vendors I've encountered in 40 years in real estate. He's dealt with hundreds of real estate agents, interviewed dozens to be his, and sold by every conceivable method of sale. But even so, Andrew suspected that wasn't enough to be a truly professional seller. It's Andrew's exceptional self-awareness and wisdom beyond his years that makes his insightful and articulate observations about their experience using a seller's advocate all the more compelling. As you watch this interview unfold, please keep in mind this kicker. Andrew and Lara didn't actually pay for my service. The agency employing the listing salesperson pays my professional fee at settlement, not the seller. So you see, Seller's Advocacy operates under the same time-tested business model as mortgage brokers and travel agents.
The service comes in what I would describe as 2 main phases, the first one being the agent selection process. What was the difference for you between trying to do it yourself and having me involved in helping you narrow the field to 3 good agents?
I think I'd initially done some looking myself before I'd engaged you, just to see what was going on with the top selling agents in the area, just trying to understand that. But you had more experience and insights about what to look for with the agents and other elements about what would make them or help them give us the best result. We see the people who've got their most boards up around the neighbourhood and who are the top selling areas, people in the neighbourhood, but doesn't necessarily mean that they were going to be the best person to get us the best result. So I was having a bit more of a broader mindset about what would bring us, a better sale outcome.
Exactly. So part of the process is we have a tender document, which is a standard document I send to the agents where the advice that they would like to give about various elements, be it presentation, marketing, method of sale and so on, all of these things are encapsulated in it. But tell me, how empowering was it to have that information for you, and what was set out in the way that it was?
Oh, it was really good having it in a structured format, and then just seeing all of their responses in that structured format, so I could compare them, or we could compare them all. I obviously got a chance to look at them independently first, or we did, and it cast our view of them, but to be able to see how they responded to the set questions, the set situations and strategies really made it a lot easier for comparing them, and then setting us up then to go to that next stage about sort of asking questions and probing a little bit further about how they responded.
And of course, the confidence in the advice must be higher, knowing that they had no idea what you wanted to hear.
Yeah, exactly. So that's all right. They didn't have normally that pre-meeting where they can get things from the vendor and understand what they're looking for. They didn't have any of that pre-information. They had to just basically present their best strategy and approach to those questions that were put to them.
It moved on from that. I supervised the signing part of it. That is, I inspected the documentation. There's a little bit of peace of mind in that. But the main thing after that is, of course, you're able to then connect with the agent and start your own relationship with them and them reporting to you, but my oversight always present. So what was the peace of mind and the effect of that for you that was delivered by that?
It was peace of mind having, look, obviously we built a connection once we'd chosen Andrew from Harris really quickly, and but just having another person, I suppose, that was aligned purely with my interests as well, that I could go back to with some advice about the process and how things were going, and just making sure I was clear that this was going to give us the best outcome.
Yeah. Well, if you had to say one thing to those who are watching, who might be considering how they go about the appointment of their agent, what would you say to them about the service of seller's advocacy?
I think I'd highly recommend doing it. Like, this is a sale of for most of us, our biggest asset, and we don't do it very often, maybe a few times in our lifetime. And there's some unique skills and things to understand with the sale process, and making sure that everyone's interests are aligned to get you the best sale that you can. So I think having an independent seller's advocate to help you through that journey, to give you advice, their interests aren't aligned. They're aligned purely with you to make sure they get the best result for you. So I would recommend it to anyone of all levels of experience and stuff, that I think there's so much value in doing this, and I would do it every other time and recommend it to friends and family.
You want to argue with that, Lara?
No, that's a very good response. Yes, I very much agree.
All right. Well, look, thank you so much for appointing me to help you appoint a great agent. Advocate Steve Vonderbach here. I'm here today with Andrew Sorensen from Harris Real Estate. Andrew was the agent appointed as a result of my working with the vendor to find the right agent to handle the property, and I thought it might be interesting for you to hear from an agent's perspective as to what the experience is like when they're appointed with a seller's advocate in place. Andrew, how did the process go for you?
The great thing about working with a seller's advocate is that everyone's on the same page. The vendor's expectations are in alignment with what the agent's expectations are, and obviously having you there, being able to facilitate with your knowledge, you're able to answer a lot of the questions, which makes our job a little bit easier when it comes to explaining things about the process.
Is there any reason you can think of why an agent might object to the involvement of a seller's advocate?
I think if you're inexperienced, perhaps, because you don't understand their role.
Yes, right.
But once you've been here a few years, you understand that the biggest, I suppose, the biggest roadblocks in any process with real estate is the communication and the understanding of what our role actually is. So having someone like you there makes that much easier. So if you've got enough experience in real estate, there's no reason you would object. It just makes the process smoother.
So in the particular circumstance of this sale, it can vary from one to the next as to the depth of my involvement. I was more able to step back and allow you to form your own relationship directly with the owner. But in the background, watching over things, seeing copies of correspondence, etc. At any time, did you feel that was intrusive or a distraction from the sale at all?
No, not really.
Okay.
In the beginning, it made it a little bit more complex.
Yeah.
But that's just almost like rules of engagement. If you have a marriage breakup, you've got to work out where the paperwork goes to and who we communicate with. But once all those things were sorted, as you said, you step back. You still had communication, and you were across everything that was happening in the campaign, but it just made it easier, because if there was any questions that I couldn't answer, then obviously the vendors could lean on you for support.
Yeah. Andrew, thanks for your work, firstly here, and representing our client, as you put it so well. And I'll have no problem in reaching out to you again in the future and involving you in sales under my guard as the seller's advocate.
Lovely.
Thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure.
So now you know the purpose and something about the effectiveness of seller's advocacy. You've heard from the vendor whose positive experience inspired their clear endorsement. Their agent suggested it makes the whole sale process run smoother. So in light of all of its advantages and with in mind an objective self-assessment of your personal level of expertise in the field, I wonder which path you will follow. Of course, you could try to do it without an advocate to guide you through the process. However, as you've seen, that's hardly optimal. In fact, it's more like rolling loaded dice. And surely you must agree that the sale of real estate, particularly your real estate, warrants the diligent oversight of an independent professional. Appointing and instructing an agent while flying by the seat of your pants exposes you to a plethora of unnecessary risks. Why would anyone ever do that when simply by appointing me as your seller's advocate you can so easily flip the balance of power back in your favour? And let me remind you of the kicker that's impossible to ignore. While you're the beneficiary, it's the selling agent alone who pays for my service. Now, can you think of even one good reason why you wouldn't investigate this service further? Is the choice really that hard? So here's my call to action. If you or someone you truly care about is planning to sell real estate, no matter what it is or where it is, I invite you to contact me via the options displayed herewith. We'll enjoy a simple, no obligation conversation lasting 5 to 10 minutes. This will be your opportunity to further explore my service and clarify your options. At a minimum, by call's end, you'll know a little more of what to be wary of when dealing with agents on your own. However, so powerful are the reasons, it's far more likely that you'll leave with a plan, feel relieved, become empowered, and be protected. My name is Stephen Vonderbach, located here at Semaphore Adelaide Property Services. Is my real estate advocacy business. I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you so much for watching.